The NBA trade deadline is nearing, so I want to break down one specific target the Celtics should try and acquire, and that's going to be Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz. But how can the Boston Celtics actually make this move work? That's what we're going to break down here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and help us reach 43,000. You guys have helped me grow this channel from 18,000 when I got this channel before last year's run to the NBA championship, and now I want to make it even bigger. We need 41 more subscribers to reach 43K. Go on ahead, help us out by hitting that sub button down below. The NBA trade deadline is a lot closer than you think. It's actually less than a month away. February 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time is when all trades must be finalized. Remember last year when Brad Stevens made a move at the last minute, 2 moves, sending Delano Banton and Lamar Stevens away. So, knowing that Brad Stevens could possibly make very limited moves here, they need to be extremely strategic, and that's what Brad Stevens does best, make strategic moves. But you have to keep in mind who he can move and who he can't. The players that are now eligible since December 15th is Luke Kornet, Neemias Queta, and Xavier Tillman. I really don't want to part ways with any of these players. I think they're very beneficial in the center depth chart, especially because Kristaps Porzingis has been extremely injury-prone this year. Al Horford has been playing well, but he is 38 years old, so we can't go back-to-back. Luke Kornet, Neemias Queta, and Xavier Tillman need to continue being in the rotation moving forward. If you had to get rid of any of these guys, I would trade away Xavier Tillman. But maybe to get Walker Kessler, you don't need to trade away Tillman. Players he cannot touch do include some of the big names, obviously. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, the 2 highest paid players in the NBA. They cannot move them this year. Derek White as well, because he recently signed an extension with the Boston Celtics this last offseason. Same thing with Sam Hauser. Once again, don't trade, don't even think about it. So we don't have to worry about Brad Stevens moving any of the starters or any of the big names on the Boston Celtics. But keep in mind, there are a few players that may be leaving on their own free will in free agency. You've got Jaden Springer, who we did acquire last year by the NBA trade deadline, really finding himself with the lowest minutes on the team other than two-way players. Al Horford, who may end up retiring after next season, and then Luke Kornet. But the reason why there's an asterisk next to Luke Kornet's name is because he has the right to veto any trade that he is put into. So Luke Kornet, it's kind of on his own basis here. So who can the Boston Celtics move to get Walker Kessler? Jaden Springer. The man's making $4 million a year and not playing a lick of Celtics basketball. Get him out of here. And because he makes $4 million a year, which is blasphemy, you can get a guy of Walker Kessler talents that's actually making less than Jaden Springer is. So I do believe Brad Stevens has the ability and should make a strategic move to get rid of Springer's contract, bring in some talent that can help us down low in the post and help us go back to back. Before I jump into what it would take to bring Walker Kessler to the Boston Celtics, should they trade away Jaden Springer? Type T for trade, type K for keep. I don't know why you guys would really have a problem with trading Springer, but let me know in the comment section down below. In case you guys need a little bit of help deciphering whether or not to get rid of the guy that averages less than 5 minutes a game, Springer costs $4 million, which is the 8th highest paid player on the Celtics roster. It's a lot of money for a guy that really doesn't score, and he's merely a defensive asset when he does get something other than garbage minutes. Could save the Celtics $16 million. Being well over the luxury tax line, this will actually go far for Boston that may want to make another move in the future and help the Celtics continue to be a dynasty or create a dynasty moving forward. Springer really doesn't push the needle for me. When he's averaging the fewest amount of minutes per game, and knowing that with the Boston Celtics, you have to fall in line with Mazzulla ball, which primarily means making the most efficient shot, or at least creating the most efficient shot, Springer's not really of an offensive guy at all. I think all the guys that do earn minutes for Joe Mazzulla are because they play both ways pretty efficiently. While Springer is getting better at offense, he's no Walker Kessler, let me tell you. So what would it take for Boston to finally get rid, it sounds terrible, trade away Jaden Springer to obtain a guy that will help them immediately? Before I break down that, let me break down this. Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I'm playing Prize Picks every single game day, and I want you guys to join me and 10 million active users right now that are playing the game. All you guys have to do is just pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. And PrizePicks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Plus, they put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Not to mention, you can play this in over 30 different states, including Cali, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. The playoffs are coming up this weekend, so I've got some big names on my PrizePicks. I've got Derrick Henry to have more than 100 rushing yards, and I have Nico Collins to have more than 84 receiving yards. These are my PrizePicks. If you guys want to go ahead and copy them, feel free. Or if you want to make your own, even better. All you guys have to do is just download the PrizePicks app, use promo code CLNS. That'll give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the PrizePicks app, use promo code CLNS. That'll give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Walker Kessler, the starting center for the Utah Jazz, who's also 14th in the Western Conference right now. They're struggling this year. No doubt about it. And I know that Walker Kessler being the starter for the Jazz, it's going to be a little bit more tedious to try to get them to agree to sending them to arguably the best team in the NBA. But if they were to make this trade happen, and look, I don't know what Brad Stevens says behind closed doors or how he makes these deals work, but this is the guy that brought Porzingis and Drew Holiday to Boston in the same offseason. Never count out Brad Stevens. Walker Kessler is a freak. 30 games averaging a double-double. It's almost unheard of nowadays. Not to mention almost 3 blocks a game. You pair that with the offensive production of a Jaylen Brown and a Jason Tatum, and even give it a defensive backcourt and Derek White and Drew Holiday, Walker Kessler would be game-changing for the Boston Celtics, especially since Kristaps Porzingis has had a little bit of a question mark surrounding him this last year. While I love KP, and in any game, I would still take Kristaps Porzingis to start over Walker Kessler. He is made of glass. So, for example, when he got kicked in the nuts against the Denver Nuggets and came down to the ground, I thought his season's over because he just broke his ankle, because I'm so used to him leaving with an injury. Thankfully, he just got kicked in the nuts, so I'm sorry about that, KP. But KP's injuries definitely have me holding my breath every single time he plays. And if not, I'm constantly checking the depth chart in the injury report to see if KP's even going to play in this game or if he's going to help us win. And I do think that while it worked for the Celtics last year, the NBA gets better every season. And now it's putting a lot on the other players on the Celtics team, and you're starting to notice that they're not making as many open shots as they normally would. Their offense seems to be a little bit slower than it was last year because they're trying to adjust to either KP not playing day of or leaving the game because he left with some kind of injury like he has numerous times this last season. And then when you look at Al Horford does nothing wrong. He's just old, and that's okay. But Horford could possibly retire after the end of the season, so we try not to play Al Horford back-to-back. You go out and get 23-year-old Walker Kessler, who's averaging a double-double, this would put a ton of sirens around every NBA team because the Celtics just got better. How do they get better? You trade away your assets. You trade away Jaden Springer for $4 million. Walker Kessler only makes $2.9 million right now, and you give them 2 first picks, 2025 first round and a 2026 first round. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if this is enough. I do not think the Utah Jazz will end up trading away Walker Kessler. I think that is a prodigy they want to try and build up in their own franchise, but Utah may be struggling right now. They may ask for a little bit more to obtain Walker Kessler. I'm not Brad Stevens, but I would almost guarantee you that he may reach out to see what this would be all about. I think this would be incredible. Want Walker Kessler on the Boston Celtics? Put your WKs in the comment section down below. It already is making me feel so much more secure in the Celtics roster if a guy like Walker Kessler was there. But Brad Stevens is going to have to work his magic, and boy, oh boy, it may take a lot of beans to get that beanstalk. So go on ahead, hit that sub button for me. If anything happens, the trade deadline is less than a month away. If they want Walker Kessler, they have to act now, and I want you guys to be a part of it. Subscribe to Celtics Today. Help us get to 43,000.